2002, to talk to Marjorie Kilburn, who was once a one-room school teacher, and she's going to share some of her memories with us.
Right in front of the camera.
All right, Marjorie, to start out with, I was wondering if you could tell us what years you taught at a one-room school.
I taught in 1941, 42, and, no, I'm sorry, 40 and 41, 42 to 43,
All right.
from September through May.
Okay.
To those years.
And did they have summer sessions at that time?
No.
All right. And where was your school located?
About 3 miles east and north of Newton. It was called Kellogg Number 5, or it also was called Amboy, because that was the Amboy neighborhood.
Yes, back then they named the schools by their county and their township
Yes.
and the district and so forth. And where did you receive your training, Marjorie?
I took the normal training course at Newton High School.
Mm-hmm.
We had required subjects that we took for our junior and senior year. And after we completed those, at the end of our senior year, then we went to Des Moines and took the state exams before we could get our license to teach.
Right, and earlier you were telling me something about the age requirements for doing that. Maybe if you could share a little bit again about that.
Have to be 18 to receive your license. And I was 17 in January before I graduated, so when I took my exams, I couldn't get my license until the following year.
Sure.
So every year they would choose someone from the normal training course that could teach in one of the local schools in Newton, or not teach, but work in the office and then substitute for the teachers, and I had that opportunity.
Terrific. Can you describe some of the coursework that you had?
We had to take normal training, physiology. Oh, there were several subjects. Let's see. Normal training agriculture, normal training. Oh, I just don't remember all those. But we had to take exams, and we called it arithmetic in those days, and English, and physiology, geography, spelling.
Did they do recitation?
No, I don't believe so. Well, we did in our school, in our country school, lots of it.
Yes.
But I don't recall that in the normal training course.
Agriculture, though.
Yes, agriculture was, and there, well, because we taught in the country schools, and today, my husband, for instance, laughs because I used to know all the kinds of hogs and all the kinds of cattle, whether they were dairy cattle or beef cattle, or, really. And as I recall, I got 93% in my normal training agriculture state exam.
Wow. That's impressive. Did you practice teach before graduation?
Went out, let's see, now where did I go? Just for a week. Yes, I did. Just for a week in the spring. I went to a school a couple miles from Newton. I don't recall the name of the school, but just observed and, sort of, I guess like any practice teacher does today.
Right. Except they didn't make a whole semester out of it.
No, just one week I had.
Okay. And can you elaborate a little bit on how you got your first teaching job?
Well, I just told somebody this the other day. I did have one of the better schools in that area, and I had a brother who had graduated from Newton High School a few years before I did, and he knew, this is sort of a long story, but he was a friend of an insurance man there in town who was a very good friend of the director of the school that I taught. And I to this day, I think I got that school by a few connections there because somebody knew somebody else,
Sure. The way things work now, and they probably have for forever.
And in an area like that, people did know one another. I mean,
Sure.
pretty much everybody knew one another. This director that hired me, we stayed friends all these years, and he just passed away about 2 weeks ago, and he was 93 years old.
Is that right?
And they have visited me through the years.
You stayed in touch.
very dear friends.
My next question, I'm wondering if you can describe some of the terms of your contract. Do you recall any of that?
If I married during the term of the contract, I was out. Let's see. Now, do you want the first year?
Sure, anything like that.
I made $65, but that's where I said I had one of the better schools because some of them only made $45. I made $65 the first year, and then the next year I made $85.
For the year or for a month?
Per month.
Per month.
Oh.
And I stayed. I boarded in the community the first year. Now, do you want that in here now?
It's going to come up later, but go ahead. Sure.
I stayed with an older couple. It was a Quaker community, and I stayed with this older couple, and I paid $30 a month for board and room. I gained 18 pounds the first year I was there because she cooked good food, but no fresh salads and that type of thing, you know. They were wonderful people. Lived about a quarter of a mile from school. Had a semi-modern home they had in those days. They had a chemical toilet instead of the indoor, you know. But it was a nice home. And I stayed until must have been about February. And this was during the war. And their daughter and husband lived at Oskaloosa, and he worked for Penn College. Anyway, he was sent into the service, so his daughter came home. So then I had to start driving back and forth to school the rest of that year.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of anything else about the contract. I'll tell you how particular they were. I had a boyfriend at that time, and so in the wintertime, he'd take me out to where I stayed on Sunday night. So I banked the furnace at night, you know, so I'd be ready to go on Monday morning. And he was not allowed to go in the school. Well, I mean, this was what my director said, that I should go in and do that by myself, you know.
He could drop you off.
He could drop me off.
Go in the building with you.
Now, isn't that a strange idea?
Well, at least you could ride together.
Yes, yes, we did. I can't think of anything else. A contract. You're supposed to no drinking, no, you know. We really were, and I think people watched that too. But
the eyes were on you, which leads me to my next question. Were there unwritten rules that you felt the community imposed on you?
I don't think so. It was a Quaker neighborhood community, and so people were really good, solid people, you know.
Sure.
And I loved the area, and I loved the people.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your where you stayed in the house? You boarded with the family. Did you have your own room? Did you have to share
Yes,
a room?
I had my own room with this older couple. It was a room upstairs by myself, and nothing was ever required of me. I mean, I used to help her do dishes at night or something, you know, after a meal. She packed my lunch, and she'd oftentimes fix food that need to be warmed. Like, I can remember she fixed some kind of beans. They were like a baked bean. To me, I've never eaten any as good since then.
Really?
But anyway, I had this pipeless furnace, and so with one big register, anybody that brought food that need warmed, about recess time in the morning, we'd take our food and set it on the register so it'd be hot for our lunch.
And that worked.
And then with the other couple that I stayed with, they had 2 children in school. I had my own room, and I had nice living quarters both places that I stayed.
And the first one, the Quaker family, you said was about a quarter mile from school? How far was the other one?
The other one was about 2 miles, and that, now the fellow that I said that we've been friends all these years and just passed away, he lived about 2 miles, so he took us to school every day. And you know, I've oftentimes thought about that, wondered why, I mean, if he just took us his children were small though, but I remember when I was a child, now one time we were out of the district, my mother was paid to drive us, but I think he just took us because we lived that far, I don't know why.
Really? Volunteered it. Well, that saved you a great deal of time and effort.
Yes, and even though my school was right at the end of a gravel road, that was all mud roads, all those 2 miles.
Oh, sure. Oh my gosh. So how long would that take?
I think a half an hour or so.
Half an hour to go that 2 miles. What type of a vehicle was it?
We went many different, sometimes we'd go in the car, sometimes we've gone in the bobsled.
Really?
And in the spring, he had what we called a spring wagon. Now, I don't remember exactly, I remember the mail carrier used the same type of thing. It was just more like, it was kind of like a sled, except that it had big high wheels. I just,
Like a buckboard, kind of, I guess.
sort of.
Was that horse-drawn?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And what kind of duties did you have before and after school?
Oh, well, I had to fire the furnace. That was the biggest problem I had, and when I think about today, I don't think I was too smart about it, because I can remember one time the smoke filled in the room, but, I had, we had to do our own janitor work, and before school started in the fall, now the director and his wife, or whoever he hired, I don't know, would oil the floors.
Oil?
And they were not like shiny varnish, but they were nice floors, and that's the way they oiled them. And then during the year, I would use sweeping compound on them
Okay.
to keep the oil on the floor and sweep that up. I would use the sweeping compound once a week, otherwise I'd just sweep it every day. We had blackboards across the front, and of course we used them, and so I used to have a chart, and the students did different duties, and one of them would be to clear the blackboard in the evening, before the school was out. And then once a week we'd wash the blackboard. It all depended on what I had on there and if I wanted to save it, But anyway, that was one of the duties. Mostly janitor work and just being responsible for those 21 students from the time they got there till they went home. My mother used to say I spent a lot of my paycheck on safety pins and different things that some of those little kiddies just didn't
Right.
have. I remember one little boy used to wear big overalls and the buttons would be off, and so I'd pin them on the side.
Oh!
Who took care of the outhouses?
Well, I guess I did. I guess I swept those. But something else I don't remember, though, when I think about all the snow, how did we who shoveled the path to those outhouses? Because there were quite a ways, but I guess we must have just done it together. The students helped do everything. We had a water cooler, we had a well outside, and then a water cooler that sat in the cloakroom. And so that was one of the duties that the students did, was to get the water and put it in the cooler. Everybody had a tin cup. We had a rack. Everybody had their own tin cup that hung on the rack, and they could.
And then what did you do when the weather was bad? Say even, before or even during school hours? What if the weather turned bad? How did you handle that?
I can't remember ever missing school, and I don't know why, because today they have snow days, But I just got there. Wherever I stayed, they saw that I got to school, and so did the
So whoever got there got there?
Yes, that's right. And as I say, I don't remember any time that we stayed home from school because of weather.
Wow.
But it wasn't a matter that they opened the roads up, it was just that the farmers got out and made their way through it.
Yes. Can you describe to me what your schoolroom looked like? What was on the walls?
Oh dear. Well, I even have a picture here. It had windows on two sides. Let's see. That didn't very good picture, but that was the inside. But it had windows on the west and on the south, and then in the front was my desk and it was recitation bench, and the pupils all sat back here. But then when it come time for their class, I always called 7th grade history. Then they'd come up, and I oftentimes think about that. That all went on while these other students back here were studying.
Yes.
I've heard a lot of times that the other students learn from what they hear at the recitation bench.
I've heard that also.
The blackboard went all across the front, and my desk was there, and then the recitation bench. And then we had curtains that came from so far up from the ends came out to the front, and then there was curtains that went clear across the front. But I always had those clear open, those that went across the front. But I used to use those little, the part that was partitioned off, like the little primary or first graders, if they didn't, we had playthings back in there, and they'd go back in there and play sometimes.
All right. Well, this is interesting because we put on a Christmas program at the one-room school on campus this year, and we've seen from pictures and so forth that they did a lot of times have the curtains across the front when they put on programs.
We did. That's what they were there for.
But you had them up there all year round?
As I recall, they were there all the year round.
Yeah.
We had some wonderful programs.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
We would have a program at Halloween time. The latter part of October we'd have one, and then we'd have one in December. I think we were required to have so many.
Oh.
And the parents prepared food. Oh, we used to have homemade pies and hot chicken sandwiches and that type of thing that they'd sell after the program. And that money was used for something, but I don't
so you made
recall that
fundraisers out of them.
fundraisers. But I just loved to have. They'd have dialogues and they'd have recitations, and I did not play the piano, but I was in music, sang, and so we had lots of music and. I thought those programs were just wonderful. I loved doing them, but you had to choose when you had your practice, because you can take too much time away from your study. And so I used to keep the students busy that way so they could get ready for practice for these programs,
Very good. So in the fall, you'd have one
in the fall
at Christmas
and then at
time?
Christmas time. Always those two. And I don't recall any others. But that was, the whole community came for our programs.
Wonderful. And that was held after school hours?
Oh, at night. It was held at night.
What did you have for lighting in the schoolroom?
We had electric light. We had electricity.
Okay.
I was lucky that way. That actually the only inconvenience we had were the outdoor toilets, because that furnace was nice too. We had, instead of having PTA, we had a community club. And that, I'm trying to think how often I think that met. There's a lot of things I've forgotten. But I think that met like every couple months, but the whole, the parents and all the people in the community would come for a social gathering.
Even if they didn't have children there? It was a real community-wide event?
Yes.
How about the walls of the schoolroom? Do you recall what
They
types
were
of
mostly
things?
wainscoting.
Partway up?
That's what it was. One part I forgot to tell you. At the back of my room was a library.
Okay.
And we had a lot of books that had been there for years. But in addition to that, I would go, my parents lived in Newton, so I would go to the county superintendent's office regularly to pick up, there was books available there.
So they had more or less a lending library?
Yes,
for the superintendents?
And then I also went to the Newton Public Library and took books back too. So we had quite a library.
Okay. Was that contained in like a bookcase?
Yes, and yes, it had 2 bookcases. I think one of them was built into the wall, and then another standing.
Okay.
We had a sand table at the back of the room.
You did?
Yes, we did. And that sometimes it was used for children to play, but other times we made projects, like some of the upperclassmen would put like rivers and different things like that.
Really? So all ages used it?
All ages used it. And depending upon whether we had to have it for a class project, whether the little ones got to use.
Okay.
We started every morning with the Pledge of Allegiance. No other way that I think about today when I read about it. And then we'd always have opening exercises, and it would differ on different days. One day we'd have art appreciation, some of the more famous paintings, and another day we'd have music appreciation. And remember we had they called them Victrolas in those days.
Yes.
And we'd listen to, there was a lot of songs that were you know, I don't know if I want to say required, but they were songs that the kids were supposed to learn, you know. And so a lot of that would be on the Victrola, and then we'd learn to sing those. On Friday afternoons, again, I don't remember what time, maybe 2 o'clock, but we try to get our work done so we could have a fun time, and that would usually be make projects like maybe make Christmas gifts, you know, depending on the time of year for our parents. But Friday afternoon, I think like after 2:30 we used to have a...
Oh, that's a nice way to finish up the week then.
I was telling my daughter the other day about something that when I think back, it was really primitive. I didn't type, I did everything in longhand, so whenever I wanted a copy, we had what we called a hectograph machine, and it looked like a cake pan, and it was a jelly that you poured into that. Have you ever seen one?
No, I haven't. I believe I have heard of it, but I've never seen
Okay,
one.
and then I wrote with a certain kind of pencil, an indelible pencil. When I'd write out the test, like if I had I never had more than 3 people in a class. It'd be 1 in one class, 2 in you know, I had all the way from primary to 8th grade. But anyway, if I need to make more than one copy, I would write it out in longhand with that indelible pencil, and then lay it on that jelly, and that would make the print, and then I'd make my copies off of that.
Oh, interesting.
Very interesting.
So you make up your own test that way, and
Yes.
you can copy it that way.
But just think how they make, now today my daughter has a secretary that does all that,
A little bit
the
different.
copy machine.
But you got by.
Yes, we did.
How were the children seated in the classroom?
You could see, those pictures are terrible. That's another thing that's come a long way, photography. But anyway, we started, the first row over here were little desks, and that's where my primary children were. And then as we went on, the 7th and 8th graders sat over there next, in the bigger seats next to the window in the west. We had, I thought I had good discipline. Anyway, we had this thing about, now do you remember this? Whatever you wanted to do, you raised so many fingers, like if you wanted to go to the library, or if you wanted to go to the bathroom, or if you wanted to speak to somebody.
Yes.
We had that. I'm trying to think. I can remember the primary children that I had 3. And there was so much difference in the maturity of those. One of them was the smartest little guy and could just do anything. And one of them was so immature. I remember his coordination was so poor, he could hardly cut her. But I think they had to be 5 by September 10th or something like that. And probably the other one, mother started him later, I can't recall. But I might as well have had 2 classes as to the work I did with those 2.
So they were in particular grades by age rather than ability? Or how did that work?
Well, it was primary first, second. But the primary, that's the only class that I can remember there being such a difference in the 2. And like I say, I think one of them was older than the other one, and the other one got in right under the wires.
Okay, so there's probably almost a year.
There was, I'm sure there was.
Okay.
Let's see.
So you didn't separate your rows by gender?
No, not at all, by classes.
And what type of subjects were taught again?
What type?
Students?
Oh my.
Yeah.
They were taught, let's see, they had reading, arithmetic we called it, English, no, we called it grammar in those days, and hygiene, geography, history, in the 7th and 8th grade we had civics, spelling, now penmanship was sort of like one of those opening exercises. It was a time by itself that the whole school had penmanship class, and you know, I'd walk through the whole classroom. I mean, according to their age, their penmanship was. You ask about the schoolhouse itself, above the blackboard were all the alphabet, cards with the alphabet and exactly how to make the capital letter and the small letter.
And was that, did it show cursive?
Yes, that's exactly what it was.
Okay. Do you remember anything about 8th grade exams?
8th grade, I worked hard with the 8th graders because I wanted them to make good grades. You know, they took the 8th grade exams up at the courthouse in Newton, and I worked with them over and above their classes if they needed help before they went to take their tests. Again, I had students that got excellent grades, and then I had a couple that had a tough time. And you know, I think those that had the difficult time might not even gone on to high school.
Okay.
This one boy that used to write on his paper, I love misfiling. I don't believe he went to high school. And he went in the service, I know, of course that was back in war times, and I think he went in the Navy probably not too long after he got through school, probably when he was 17 or so. But I had some good students that passed the 8th grade.
Great.
Good color, with flying colors.
With flying colors. And the majority of the students did that.
Yes, yes. And the only student that I ever failed, and that just about broke my heart, there was a family of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 children in the family. And I don't know, at the time, I didn't think about him having learning disability. I just knew he wasn't quite as sharp as the other. But he also had a little problem of, today I would think it would be attention deficit.
Yes.
You know?
Sure.
And I had to fail him, and then he was in a class with his sister. And he didn't like that. I love that family. But I have to tell you, they lived in a cave.
In a cave?
They lived in a cave. Amboy School was in a community, as I say, my school was right at the end of the gravel, and then it was, as you went to the north, was Amboy Timber, and the road wound around through the country. And this family had, as you'd come up to their place, you'd see this door that opened up, and then you go down, and they lived down there. Now, another thing that I did, I visited my families.
You did?
At least twice a year. I did at the beginning of the school year and then again. And the kids loved that, but I can remember this family in particular was so thrilled when I came. And it broke my heart to see how they lived. And they were the same family that I used to buy the safety pins to.
Okay. Did the children come to school barefoot still then?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. You have to look at some of these pictures.
Okay, I will. And did you use much paper and pen and pencils, or did you still use slates and chalk?
Oh no, we used papers and pencils, and I used to buy pencils for gifts, and sometimes, I don't remember where we could get this deal, but we'd have their names put on them, you know, and that was, I'd give that to them for gifts. They loved that.
Okay. Did your children give you presents at Christmas?
Oh my, yes. At school at Christmas time, yes they did.
What types of things? Can you recall? Would it be something like they made, or?
No, they might bring me little bottles at that time, Evening in Paris perfume. I remember that. You know, I don't know. I don't remember. But all I can remember, they'd be so excited at Christmas because we'd have a Christmas tree. And we used to do things like, teachers had lots of, how do I want to say this? We'd have opportunities to get things through some company. They'd be advertising. I remember Ipana toothpaste. Do you remember it?
I remember, yeah. The
red and yellow too. Well, anyway, you could send in and get, like I'd get 25 tubes of toothpaste, and then we had this chart. Oh, that was another thing we had. Every morning we had inspection. And that was one of the students' job. We'd take turns, you know, somebody could have inspection. They'd go up and down every row, and they'd have to show their hands and say if they brushed their teeth or not, you know. But anyway, this toothpaste that I'd send for, that was an incentive for them to brush their teeth. Another time I bought them toothbrushes. And As I say, that was kind of silly, because who knows if they really did. But that was one of the,
It would have been a treat to them to get
Yes.
something like that.
but I mean, to have the inspection, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
to go up and down now and ask everybody if they brushed their teeth and if they combed their hair.
So what kinds of discipline did you use?
Well, I think one of the things, they used to have to stay in after, we'd go outside for recess. We had 2 recess a day, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. And I was always with them, and it was supervised games. But if anybody was being disciplined, that was one of the things, they couldn't go out for recess. I really don't remember too many problems. Oh yes, I remember one time, a boy put his spelling words down between his feet and cheated while he was with him. We had our test on Friday. And so then he had to stay in with me after school.
Okay.
That really was one of the things that we did.
Gotcha.
Could you hit them?
No, never. I don't think they were strict about it in those days as they are today, but I never did. I loved those kids. If I had any problem, it was that, I think. Oh, but I'll have to tell you, there was a house across the road from us and down the lane. I don't know how they could see what was going on, but one time, and they're kind of fuddy-duddies, these people.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, something I did on the playground, I didn't let some child be it or something. I don't know what it was. I just don't recall. But she went down the road to the parents and told them that I had.
Just right during.
Yeah.
Right away.
Anyway, then, and those people were friends. I mean, she just told me that it upset me. I don't know why. I don't remember more exactly what it was about, but I think it upset me more that this lady went down the road to tell the other person. You know?
Sure. Huh. Do you ever remember holding classes outside or taking field trips anywhere?
Oh, yes, we took, this Amboy Woods was beautiful. And as I say, I lived a quarter of a mile, and then beyond that house out into the woods. But yes, in the spring we would go to the woods and see the spring flowers. And in those days you could pick them, you know.
Okay.
Then I remember one time of Aunt Jemima was in Newton at one of the banks serving pancakes. And so of course you had to get the parents involved there. And so we took the whole school into the bank and had to Aunt Jemima Day, and that was a big day. And another time, I think this was 7th and 8th grade, I can't believe it was any more than that, to the State House in Des Moines.
Oh, really? Of course. That'd be a big trip. Can you recall what kind of games that you played in the schoolyard?
We'd choose up side, well, we had lots of, I don't know, we call it baseball, I guess, but we had lots of ball games out in the, and then we would play where we'd choose up sides and, what was it called? Steel sticks. You'd come across and try to get something over here, and then this time, steel sticks was the name of it, I remember. Maybe that side would try to catch you while they ran back. Oh gosh, I don't remember.
Did the boys and girls play together?
Yes, they did.
Can you recall what the schoolyard itself looked like? Did you have trees or
We had trees all along the west side of the school ground, and that's also where the outdoor toilets were. And then
two outdoor toilets?
The boys and the girls. And then it seemed like we had a lot of ground north of the schoolhouse, and that's where we played ball. And there wasn't much on the south side. That's where the driveway came in off the road, and that's where the well was. Oh, we always put the flag up every day outside. And,
Was there a hitching post?
No.
No hitching post?
You know, what I remember, lots of patriotism.
Was your school used as a polling place? or voting place?
No, there's
Were any clubs meetings held there, like Farm Women's Club?
nothing other than this community club that we had. And I don't even recall for sure how often that met. All I know was that kind of kept the community involved. You know, everybody knew what else was going on.
All right. And so that was just men and women?
Yes, the
of
whole
community.
families. Mhm.
Whole families. Would that just be a meeting, or would they do a potluck or something like that too then? For those, do you recall?
I don't recall potlucks as much as I do maybe sandwiches and pies and things.
Okay. Were the desks moved? For these events, or-
No. In fact, those desks sat on long pieces of, 2 long pieces of wood.
Yes.
You know. then
That's
you could
how
move
our
the-
schoolhouse is on campus.
Is
They're
it?
all set
Mhm,
on these
mhm.
2 long
That's,
things.
and then you could move the whole.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I can remember I talked about the janitor work.
Yes.
But I never got around to doing the windows. Those windows used to get all the before. And I don't know whether that was supposed to be much out or not, but
Did you have curtains?
Venetian shades.
Oh.
Wooden Venetian shades. We really had a pretty nice school.
It sounds like it. What things did you not like about teaching at a rural school?
Well, I guess I never got, I'd go out on Sunday night, never went home till Friday night, and I was, my family was all in Newton, and I sort of missed that. The first year, I got so homesick, I really was sick.
Physically ill.
Physically ill. That's when I stayed with this older couple of Quakers, and I felt kind of guilty about it, you know. But I go home from school, and I'd just be so sick. I was heart sick. I was lonesome to be at home. And they were so wonderful. She played the piano, and after we'd get through with dinner at night, we'd sing hymns.
Oh.
And he had a beautiful voice. They were old people. I wonder how old they were. Probably not as old as I am, but I thought they were. But I love music, and the 2 of us used to sing while she played that piano.
Oh.
And he always said when he died, he wanted me to sing "Life's Railway to Heaven." Well, I was long gone from there when he passed away, but I love those people.
Well, you enjoyed each other's voices.
Yes, very much. And then, of course, this other couple were young people, and had the 2 girls in school that I stayed with the second year, and I enjoyed that too.
Right. So how far away was the school from your home then?
3 miles, 3 miles out on Highway 6, 3 miles east, and about 4 miles north. I guess all total I was about 7 miles from home.
7 miles from home.
But it's all good roads. It was paving part of the way, the first 3 miles, and then gravel.
Did anybody from home ever come to visit you?
No. Once I had an aunt that used to come from Illinois that came out to visit me, my school class. She
Okay.
was out visiting in Iowa, and so she came out to visit at school. I don't recall too many visitors. Once in a while, somebody in the community might have company, and they'd come to visit school, you know, but
Okay.
not that often. And I guess there wasn't really anything about it other than being away from home that I disliked, because I loved teaching, and
Yes.
I loved the community.
So you did it for 2 years? And then what did you do after
And
that?
then I got married. What I really thought I was going to do was go to Cedar Falls every summer and get my degree. In those years, you had to have 2 years before you could teach in town, and that's what I thought I'd do. But
Switch from country teaching to
town
teaching.
You had 2 years of college.
Okay.
And when my niece contacted me about this, she wanted to know if there was any other teachers I could think of. But so many of my friends are gone already.
Yeah.
My roommate had Cedar Falls. Well, we were classmates in the normal training course in Newton. Then when we went to school at Cedar Falls, we stayed together. This picture that I had of her here.
Is it the one on your
Oh,
lap?
yes, that's it. But anyway, she married a classmate of ours, and they He was a vice consul to Formosa, so she taught a couple years when I did, and then she was gone from the country, and I'd see her at class reunions, but she passed away a couple years ago.
Just a couple years ago. So what would you say is your fondest memory of teaching?
I thought I accomplished a lot with those children. From the time they came to school until they left, I felt like, you never know whether you're a good teacher or not, but you could see it in the results of, and I'm trying to think, this gentleman that just passed away lately, he had 2 daughters in school, and small world that this is. She married and went to Des Moines, and now I've lived in West Union since 70, and I shop at the grocery store down here at the Super Value. And one of my friends that heads the produce department said one day, "Did you have a student by the name of Joanne Hinshaw?" She called her by her last name now, which I didn't know what it was. And I said, "Would it have been Joanne Hinshaw?" She said, "Yes." Well, anyway, this little girl that I had in school now worked in the office at Super Value in Des Moines. This is 60 years later. And she knew I lived in West Union, so she asked this lady, "Do you know Marjorie Kilburn now?" But now, that made me feel good to think that she still, remembered.
Yes. Marjorie, what was your maiden name?
My maiden name was Farland.
Farland.
I have lots of relatives in Newton.
That's really all of the organized questions I have. Do you have anything else you'd like to share with us?
I just made some notes here. One thing that I always enjoyed, and was every year we have a state teachers meeting in Des Moines the first weekend in November, and we'd get our school to go to that, and we'd have lots of meetings at KR&T Theater, they called it in those days. I don't suppose it's there anymore. But anyway, those, I always thought they were good.
It was like an in-service day then
Yes.
for you.
Go for the whole weekend. I think we'd go Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then we'd have some entertainment and banquets, just like any state convention. I like that a lot. I think most touched on just about everything.
All right. Thank you very much.
Well, you're very welcome. As I say, my memory fails me about a lot of things. I'm sure there's lots of other things that would be of interest, but...
Well, when you recall them, you'll have to jot them down and incorporate it into what you already have. But you've shared a lot. It's obvious you remember a lot about it.
Well, this has been a real pleasure. As I say, I've done more reminiscing about those days since I found out you were coming.
Sure.
And I truly loved teaching school. And my daughter's a teacher, my son-in-law was a teacher, and their son is a teacher here in the middle school at West Union.
Well, there's this teaching in your blood.
Yes,
yeah.
And now did you talk with Bonnie Farland?
Just briefly.
Oh, well, anyway, her husband is my nephew.
That's right.
He's a principal at school. So I guess there's lots of...
carrying on the tradition. Well, thank you, Marjorie.
Well, you're very welcome. Been my pleasure.